All right, I'm going to show a quick demonstration of the invisibility token that I have created. Um, it will be available on the table, but I'm going to show you how to use it after it's been saved. So I go into my saved objects and I take this invisibility token and bring it onto the table. Then I'm going to take something else that I want to make invisible. Maybe it's this big tunnel. That's what I'm going to make invisible for no reason, just because I want to. Let's clear some of the rest of that off. Okay, so this big tunnel, let's say it needs to be invisible for a little bit. What I want to do is I'm going to take this scripting ID of that tunnel, copy it to the clipboard, right click on my invisibility token, and then just overwrite in the description field, and I copied and pasted there the GUID of the object that I'm wanting to make invisible. Okay, so that is that, and I'm actually going to rename that so I can keep it straight. You see, I've named it Invisibility Tunnel, because I'm going to have a lot of invisible things, I imagine, over time. And it has the GUID in the description. So I'm going to save this object. I'm going to put it in my folder. And I could probably create like an invisible items folder if I wanted to keep track of everything. But for this demonstration, I'm just going to keep it here, save it. I'm going to delete the object and bring it back in. Now that it's saved, I should be able to bring in this invisibility tunnel and that particular tunnel anytime. And right now I am in the white seat, player seat. That's what I've chosen. So if I were to toggle that white, it's invisible for me because I have toggled it off. But if I were to go to any of the other player seats colors that are shown here, that object would still be visible because the colors have not been selected. So let's just do that. Let's go check. I'm going to go change color, and I'm going to go to purple. And as purple, it's still visible, that object is. So white is still invisible, but I'm going to make purple invisible. So now purple is invisible. And if I go back to white, it should still be invisible. See? So I have now granularly made the object that is in this description visible or invisible to two different colors. Now I'm in white, so I'm going to make white visible again. But I did not want to make it visible again to purple. So I'm going to go back to purple and just to show that the object is still invisible to purple. But I'm going to make it visible now to purple as well. This can be used as long as the color players are seated at the table. Right now, there's not an orange player seated at the table or a teal player, so these buttons don't work because those colors aren't seated. But if they are, it can be toggled. So I'm going to purple right now. And the selection I make for the color is not going to affect white, where I'm going back to. And white should be, yeah, it is. So it's still visible. This, the idea here is that I would be able to make like players invisible. That, like, so for instance, Phaser is a player, is actually a follower of Brune Force, who's one of the characters that I play in Game Night's new Champion series. And Phaser can turn herself invisible. So let's say I want to, and I'm going to just make a clone of this token. Right now the clone is still the invisibility tunnel, but I'm going to make it invisibility of Phaser. And then I'm going to find Phaser's scripting ID. Got it. I'm going to paste it over here. So now this token is for Phaser. I'm going to save the object. And like I did, I'm going to bring it back in to the table. So Phaser is here. So now, if I want to make Phaser invisible, Phaser is invisible and again, this is per object. So if I had the tunnel visible, which it is, but I can again make it invisible, but phaser is now invisible only to the white player. So let's say everyone else has infrared vision or has somehow been able to make their perception roll so that they're able to see phaser, except for the white player. They missed their perception roll and they don't have any other powers that allow them to see invisible characters. White would be the only person whom whatever players at that seat would not see the character. But if somehow eventually they made their perception roll or were able to, or maybe phaser turns it off and they can see it. The same thing, other players that may not have made their perception rolls or have no power to be able to see an invisible character, I could toggle on those characters for this particular object, and there you go. There's an important trick here, and I'm sure it's just a limitation of my programming knowledge, that after you update the name and the description, particularly the description, you have to save the object to your saved objects, delete it, and then bring it back onto the table so that the script ID here is in the memory of the invisibility token. I'm sure I'll figure out how to improve that in the future, but for now it works fine enough as saving it and then just bringing it back onto the table. Okay, if you guys have any questions, just leave them in the comments. I'm going to publish this as a mod so you can subscribe to it and use this little per object, per player color invisibility token. Hope you all have fun playing, and we'll see you all at the table.